With that, I would like to invite the Peter back, Peter Baudis, Sarthak, as well as Arvid, along with Pete back for the next session, which is the roundtable. The vertical vanguard pioneers discuss the path forward in intelligent automation. I think while we got a very in-depth view from Pete in terms of how tungsten automation is looking at the transformation towards this verticalization wave. We wanted to get more diverse and unique perspective on how some of the other software companies in the automation space are looking at this shift as well, and that's why we have a very illustrious panel of CXOs that we will be picking the brains from. Um, just I think I'll quickly get started. My first question is to you, Pete. Really, I think just continuing from where you left. We have seen that primarily, I think, to start with, the enterprises really looked at some of the horizontal functions like customer service, F&A to start with. Where do you think, like, what really triggered the shift towards looking at more core industry verticals, and how do you see that coming to life in some of your customer conversations and requests that are coming up?
So if I understood the question, it was, sort of what functions within a vertical. So customer support being one that, ServiceNow has attacked and some of the largest companies in the world have gone after um, the use cases that offer the greatest TAM, right? So I think when you're a very large company, you have to go after very large TAM that enable you to amortize your investment in R&D and create, a barrier to entry around that TAM. When you're a very small company and you need to demonstrate rapid growth, you can be much more niche oriented and identify a smaller TAM in which you can offer a very highly differentiated solution and move very quickly. And of course, the Global 2000 company needs to understand the riskiness associated with working with a small company, fast-moving, emerging technology, but very tailored to a use case versus, a big company that may have a platform. So for us, with our size and scale and reach and 25,000 customers, we're very blessed to have 8 of the 10, for example, largest banks as customers. We have 7 of the 10 largest insurance companies. We have 3 of the 4 largest logistics service providers. So we sort of have as customers already so many of the largest in each industry. Our challenge is more around ensuring alignment with those customers and their priorities for introducing automation and making sure that we're striking the right balance between amortizing big investment in a classic problem against very tailored use case. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's sort of the balancing act that we're working with our customers. And while we may have 8 of 10 of the largest banks, I don't think we have 80% of all banks, right? And so as we go to a broader and broader set of banks, we need to get better and better at saying, okay, it's trade finance as the point of entry, or it's customer onboarding, know your customer as a point of entry, with much more increasingly specific, use cases that are super relevant, and then intersecting buying cycles in process where people in those banks have said, geez, we really have to do something about X. Well, look, here's a company that specializes in X. Oh, actually, not only do they specialize in X, but they also do all these other things. So we can see that there's safety in pursuing them, and that they have that wonderful mix of scale and industry relevance.
Got it. Thanks, Pete. Sarthak, I just want to bring you in as well here and understand. I think you have scaled quite quickly in terms of offering the document automation technology to customers as well. How have you seen customer demand shifting? Is this, I think, more for like a larger sort of platform that they're demanding versus very specific use case solutions, as Pete pointed out. I think there's this balance that needs to be reached there.
Yeah, so maybe what I'll say there is obviously tungsten automation has been around a lot longer than we have. I think 1980s is when they started. And the very interesting thing is that state-of-the-art neural networks that we use today, the probably the first problem that was solved using those neural networks was data extraction. Um, and the promise of document automation, data extraction has been there since the 1980s. And what we're really seeing is that there is close to infinite customer demand and has been there for the longest time, because the number of marketing dollars that have been spent on telling customers that this is possible since the 1980s is sort of coming to fruition today, where it's actually possible to do a large level of automation given technologies reached a place where it actually works. So there's a lot of pent up latent demand for doing document automation. The big challenge is that there has been a lot of historical promise, but a lot of uh, people under delivering or requiring a whole lot of manual intervention to make solutions work. Um, and that pent up latent demand is sort of what is leading to a lot of revenue growth for us. And what I'd say is we're not necessarily demand constrained, but you almost become solution constrained in what you can provide to customers and what technology you can potentially even make work today. In terms of the verticalization, I think that's where verticalization also helps. If you can enable faster adoption of the technology, where customers don't have to spend a lot of time in implementations. Go to market is much faster if you can communicate value propositions to customers more clearly. So I don't think at any point are we demand constrained. There is, at least at the moment, feels like infinite demand. We're more technology constrained in making sure this works for customers. And the more vertical you are, the faster you can deliver value to customers. Let me know if that answers the question.
Got it. Yes, certainly. I think, yeah, as probably I think we brought it up earlier, customers are certainly looking for shorter deployment cycles, faster time for value, and that's where I think just making the technology more verticalized, more use case aligned helps do that faster. And there is certainly enough and more opportunity out there for all of these different automation technologies as we see it. Arvid, my next question is to you. I think so. Again, I think with Lai, you've been operating in multiple of these technology segments. Where are you with respect to your verticalization journey? If you can give us a quick sort of picture. We, of course, I think at Snow, we take a framework-based approach of looking at everything. So I think so. If we just pick that exploration, execution, expansion kind of stages, how would you see your play currently, and if you can just touch upon that.
Yeah, the quick answer is we're probably somewhere in between exploration and execution, I would say. Yeah, maybe I can tell a little bit about our history. So Laia was founded in 2015, and we're currently the market leader for intelligent automation in China. And we're aggressively expanding outside China into Southeast Asia and Middle East. So what we're doing, what we have experienced over the past few years is both expanding horizontally, going from one product to multiple product. Like we started with conversational AI product. Primarily, the use case is customer service for large enterprise customers. But by adding RPA and intelligent document processing, we were able to expand the value we can deliver for the customers. But we have also expanded vertically in the past couple of years once we have a portfolio of products. So, for example, when we only have the conversational AI product, our focus industry is primarily telecommunication operators and retail companies like Nike and Walmart in China. But once we have multiple products, banking, insurance, power industry, as well as logistics and transportation become some other industry verticals that we focus on and seeing a lot of success because we can cross-sell multiple products and we can actually go into some of their core processes in addition to customer support and financial and accounting functions. Yeah, so obviously verticalization really helped us. That's why I think we have entered the phase of execution. This helps us drive revenue growth and also allow us to build the right kind of partnership in those verticals. So for example, in the power industry, we have partnered up with some of the system integrators for State Grid to develop the right products to do automation for the marketing processes, all equipment, failure detection, maintenance processes. Yeah, so this has become very, very helpful for us to go deeper into our customers and help them drive more tremendous values.
Got it. I think the same question for you, Peter. I think from a awesome perspective, how do you how would you put yourself in terms of your verticalization journey?
Right. So for us, I think the story, some of it is the same, some of it is a bit different, in the sense that when we set out and to disrupt the IDP space, we were focused on just building a general platform for AI processing of documents, the full life cycle processing, etc. What we discovered is kind of a common denominator, which is connected to transactional documents specifically. And we decided to double down on that in terms of the advanced product features and in terms of obviously our go-to-market enablement and customer service, etc. When you talk about transactional business documents, it's obviously invoices, orders, documents connected to the account payable departments, to the procure to pay flows, obviously sales order documents, logistics falls into that space, etc. So just the documents that are connected to some specific business transactions. And it turns out there is actually a lot of specific product features and a lot of specific business values that we can offer to a class of industries, to a class of verticals that are connected to this. And it's a fairly unique take in the space from our perspective. So we are kind of in this sort of middle way between a horizontal provider and an entirely vertical provider, because we offer solutions that are focused specifically on some industries, actually, for example, retail, manufacturing, property management, logistics, etc. But it's a common platform with common features connected, for example, to connecting emails with the documents, connected with specific integrations that kind of enable the end-to-end flow. And basically our vertical are companies that just have large teams processing specifically those business transactions. So not necessarily, for example, the energy sector, or not necessarily insurance sector, where those companies have a bit different use cases, actually use documents for a bit different purpose. But companies that specifically, or teams that specifically use documents to exchange information with other companies, that's our target, and the whole product and whole GTM enablement is organized around that.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think this gives a good picture of how you are balancing, I think, the scalability of the platform along with making sure that you are offering these industry specific solutions that can for the most frequently used functions that you're looking at. Sarthak, I just want to again, I think, bring you here to help understand, like, just drill down in terms of when you say that you are looking at some specific vertical and horizontal segments that you want to cater to in a more focused manner. What does it mean from a product, from an R&D perspective? What are the kinds of sort of customization, specialization that you're building into the portfolio to be able to do and deliver value, as you said, much faster than, say, a platform approach as an alternative?
Sure. So I'll answer this question at two levels. The first one at the R&D level. In general, R&D in the space has been largely horizontal. It's very tough to do vertical R&D because building the largest and best models is a generic task as opposed to a very vertical specific task. After you build the best models for a particular type of task, which is going to span across multiple industries, you then need to make sure you're giving the right set of software on top of it that enables actual automation. And what do I mean by that? Which is you're going to want to interact with other software. So you need to have integrations into other software. You need to have error handling. So what happens in the case that the automation doesn't work? That's going to be largely vertical specific. What happens in portions where you can't actually do the automation, but you require people to put in a manual input? So software needs to be designed in such a way. All of that is quite vertical specific, but the underlying core AI technology, let's say, is largely going to be horizontal. So if you are a technology provider that is working in the space, you need to operate on both of those axes. Your software will largely be built vertically, but your underlying R&D and core technology will be built more horizontally.
Got it. Got it. And Arvid, I think on the other dimension of go to market, how have you solved for that part? Because I think as your sales team start talking to customers on very deep industry problems and challenges that you're looking to solve through the technology, I think invariably a lot of times we've seen that sales folks fall short on industry domain that they have and the kind of sort of problem statements that they can address from that regard, right? So how do you ensure that for the vertical, like the customers you're serving in the focus verticals, your sales teams are well equipped and able to drive solutioning and address the problems of the customers?
Yeah, great question. I would have to admit that this is an ongoing challenge. I think I echo what Peter mentioned in his presentation. This is an organization challenge. So what we did is when we started to focus more on certain verticals, we reorganized our go-to-market team. So for example, power and energy and telecommunication, these are the two verticals that we actually have dedicated sales force, as well as sales engineers and even customer success folks to focus on the customers. Yeah, at the very beginning, not everyone in this new team actually have the subject matter expertise. So we have to hire we have to hire the right people to join the team or find some external advisors to equip the team with the right knowledge. Yeah, so basically, I think what's very different from before is we actually need to allow the team to have certain consulting capabilities to talk the language our end customers can talk in those verticals. Yeah, so but the results were actually very good because once we can do that, we will be able to find the real pain points our customers have and allow us to develop some repeatable and scalable solutions within that particular vertical. So our revenue can grow as well as we can actually have more input from our customers to develop and refine our product offering. The reason we expanded from one single product to multiple products actually came from such feedback from the customers. Yeah, so I think this is very, very helpful. But the challenge is always what are the verticals you should actually organize your team around. Yeah, sometimes if you focus on too many verticals, it's almost like impossible because the resources of every startup is still limited. Yeah, so we're trying to strike a balance here.
Right. Yeah, I think long sort of debate around breadth versus depth, I think is of course valid here as well. Peter, at Awesome, have you faced this similar challenge on looking at sort of when you start looking at core industry specific conversations? I think how are your sales teams addressing it? How have you been able to equip them to sort of solve for this?
So both our sales and our R&D is actually organized around this vision of focusing on departments that just have like thousands of people or hundreds of people dealing with business transactions and making and kind of tuning this lever. Right now, this person is able to handle thousands of transactions a year. How can we move them to tens of thousands of transactions and progressively to, for example, 1 million transactions a year? And this big vision. And it turns out that this is a common denominator across many of our verticals. So from this perspective, our challenge hasn't been as big in terms of industry-specific expertise because our sales order product versus our accounts payable product, they aren't really that different. Of course, when it gets into the more detailed level, there is plenty of domain-specific expertise to be had, but in that regard, usually we are able to bring in specialists, specialized pre-sales engineers, for example, solution architects, etc., to walk the hands-on teams through this. But the overall value proposition hasn't been actually so varied for us. So the challenge hasn't been so big. But of course, what Peter mentioned regarding the organization of knowledge, for example, in those teams, that kind of resonated with me a bit because we do also, of course, have challenge like this.
Understood. And Pete, if you can help us also understand, like, I think you spoke about like verticalized solutions and then use case specific sort of accelerators, but how do you balance the scalability of the platform as an approach versus really offering very targeted solutions for use cases which might address that specific problem, but again, I think the scalability within the organization will only be limited, right? So how do you balance those approaches? You did mention, of course, the last sort of SAP implementation. That is something that you see there's a dwindling demand for, but there is, I think, merit and customers who would demand for that scalable platform that can solve for every problem that they have in the enterprise.
I think the answer to your question around balance is that the sort of Pareto frontier is expanded when you introduce channel partners, because they often have businesses they're trying to build and are in some ways, because of their size, more entrepreneurial, closer to certain small customer segments, and able to build businesses around smaller TAMs than a large company like we're able to do. And so we focused on really investing in being partner friendly and creating a verticalized entrepreneurial cohorts of partners who can build solutions and amortize their investment in a marketplace that we're facilitating that enables our very broad customer base to explore the very narrowly defined use case solutions that our very large partner ecosystem has developed. So you have the scalability of our platform and the solution targeting of a very focused channel partner coming together in the best of both worlds.
Got it. Got it. And Arvid, I think you have significant sort of business coming in through your collaboration with partners. Do you see? I think you need to reimagine your partner ecosystem as you sort of progress towards a more verticalized approach. What is your viewpoint on that? I think both from a technology standpoint as well as from a go-to-market standpoint. Are there sort of newer partnerships, or the way you are interacting with your existing partners needs to sort of evolve?
Yeah, so I think in the past, when we start this automation journey with a lot of customers, those projects are relatively shallow, right? It's quick wins for the customers. So at that time, the partners we have are mostly those who can use our products to implement those automation or AI projects. Sometimes they don't have very deep domain knowledge either, but they are very capable of using our products. But as verticalization evolves, I think at the current stage for those verticals where customers have become very sophisticated, they're looking for bigger values, greater values. The partners we need to have are those with deep domain knowledge who have, for example, implemented the core systems for the customers, for the banks, for the insurance companies, for customers like State Grid. They implemented all these core systems. Now they would like to add another layer of intelligent automation. So those will become the right partners for us to adopt this verticalization approach. Yeah, and we will make our products and platforms more open and integration friendly with them, so they can use our API or SKU to help to develop the SDK tools to develop their products for those customers. Yeah, so I think so at different stages we probably have different types of customers. Yeah, but it's customer driven, so it's to the benefit of the customers.
Got it. Got it. And I think Sarthak, from your standpoint, how do you see your partner? I think developing your partner ecosystem as well. I think given your almost like native focus on specific domains that you want to really go after, are there certain types of partners that you would want to forge alliances with? And both again on the technology side as well, do you see that adding value to the kind of go-to-market that you are planning for?
Yeah, I think historically all automation providers have embraced partners, and like I think some of the other panelists have mentioned that bringing in a lot of vertical focus and domain expertise is something that partners can always do. Helping customers reach or become successful across different types of automation is definitely a partner-led motion. The one interesting thing is that I don't believe any one company is going to have a single automation provider. And that's the other place where partners become critical, given you will have large scale automation implementations that are multi-vendor. So sort of aligning all efforts together does become a partner-centric motion. And especially if a partner can have both deep domain expertise in a particular vertical industry and also deep company understanding, it can help really bridge the gap between different automation providers. Where I'm sure even within the four of us, we have a large amount of overlap with customers providing different solutions.
And yeah, I think we spoke a lot about different types of transformations, a lot of shifts that you need to drive internally within the company. I think it also mandates a very structured change management approach, especially I think for companies like Tungsten that have been around and have taken multiple pivots over the years. So, Pete, if you want to share some best practices about how you're managing change. I think you spoke about, say, sales, the way you're structuring sales organizations and that change you're driving within different parts of the business. Are there any best practices of change management that you can share with us?
Well, sure. I believe that change management is a science and an art that any successful leader, including every panelist here, I'm sure has deep expertise in. But our particular challenge, having grown in part inorganically through acquisition, is to unify the culture and do so in a way that's grounded in a way that sort of places a premium on fact-based decision-making or data-informed decision-making centered around driving customer value. And when you have a company that is going to be very good at certain things, it needs to have its own documented way of doing those things that everyone buys into. So there needs to be the tungsten automation way, the nanonets way, the Rossum way of doing things that each leader of those respective companies is able to champion and get everyone excited around as a rally cry. And so to answer your question more specifically around best practices, the big theme of the day for me is really strategy cohesion. There are many firms that have brilliantly articulated strategies, but those strategies don't really manifest themselves in a pattern of actions that are perceivable and that reconcile back to the strategy. And each function may or may not have examined its sort of business school page of best practices against that strategy, because it's very simple to Google, what are the best practices for customer success? What are the best practices for capital structure in your balance sheet? What are the best and you can get lots of best practices by function. The difficult part of general management is creating cohesiveness where you can point to, how are your accounts receivable folks complementing your customer intimacy strategy? How are your folks in R&D, thinking about deployability and renewability, and that cohesion is difficult to obtain and requires just a commitment to, frankly, an exhausting amount of communication and constant efforts to focus on alignment and placing a premium on alignment. All, again, data informed and voice of customer informed.
Right. Yeah. So sticking to some of the basics, but of course, I think it needs to be tailored to your DNA and your culture at the organization. Peter, from your side, any thoughts on how you are looking to successfully drive change at the organization? Any sort of experiments that have worked for you that you can share with us?
Experiment and kind of challenge some of the conventional wisdom. For us, one of the experiments, one of the challenges we took on ourselves, is actually how much do we have to scale the team size with the revenue and with the market we are serving? Because the observation, the learnings, a lot of the learnings we had is it's very easy to add. It's much easier to add than to change, right? And that's very tricky when you have a very short feedback loop with the market, when you need to adapt the product quickly, etc. So we are, in a sense, experimenting with how can we maintain the top rate of innovations, how can we maintain the top customer satisfaction while maximizing sort of the ARR per FTE scenario, while keeping the company pretty lean. Of course, you need to add sales representatives. Of course, you need to add post-sales people. Of course, you need to add AI researchers. But how can you do it at the kind of the minimum pace that sustains the business? Because also our observation is this is where the true innovation, both on the business side and on the R&D side, shines through the most. And when it forces you to take new approaches, to employ the Gen AI technologies in a new way, to employ new sales processes that are adapted to the changing generation, the generational change of buyers on the enterprise side, etc. How can you push this innovation forward? So for us, after kind of we had a very big Series A. We had a very large investment, and we started to feel the compulsion to start spending it. But then we realized that this is actually not healthy, and it's dangerous to keep the innovative spirit of a company. So for us, it's been a big learning how healthy it can be for a company, also from product perspective, from innovation perspective, to stay lean. So for us, the best way to implement change and to regain the ability to pivot as needed, to adjust the product as needed, to keep the feedback cycle short with the post-sales team, etc., is to stay as lean as possible and resist the temptations to grow your team as much as you are growing your revenue, even if you have the money in the bank.
Got it. Thanks, Peter. I think we are already out of time, but I'll end with one slightly controversial question. I think maybe, Arvid, if you want to share a view on who do you see as will be the successful kind of persona of companies in this ecosystem, right? Will it be more of end-to-end automation platforms, or do you see some of the more specialized, verticalized players sort of taking in all the stakes, right? So, what is your viewpoint? And of course, I think there are companies that are taking both of these approaches, but yeah, I think we just want to get a perspective from you.
Sure. Yeah. I would probably have to say that if you want to be the ultimate winner, you have to do both well. You have to be the best of both worlds a little bit. Yeah. And also, referring to one question asked by someone from the audience, I think with the arrival of Gen AI, there will be a lot of new opportunities to redo those vertical softwares. And this opportunity might be captured by some of the key intelligent automation players. That's what I'm observing in my core markets, at least. Yeah.
Got it. Sarthak, any closing comments from your side?
I think irrespective of what happens, NVIDIA wins and NVIDIA stock goes up because all I think there's room for both horizontal and vertical players, depending on how close you are to the customer.
Got it. Okay.
I'd like to answer. I think the answer is there is a huge opportunity for everyone to bring great value to big companies that are struggling. And the market opportunity is huge that everyone can succeed at the same time, because there's just so much opportunity to bring value to big businesses.
Maybe to build on that, I think when thinking, okay, how to capture the most value in this situation, I fully agree with Pete on that. Is think about commoditization and the way commoditization does, because in commoditization there will be probably a couple or just 1-2 players who will capture a big horizontal, but that doesn't mean that the verticals will disappear, but the task you are solving will change. So for example, artificial intelligence, it is getting commoditized over time, of course. It's not in a state where you can just take Gen AI and process invoices with it, for example. The accuracy isn't there, but it will happen over time. So think about this when designing your solution, your vertical solution, so that you capture this value. And there is time for both. There is space for both. But if you are in kind of the wrong side of it, you can get pushed out by the commoditization.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, yeah, I think we really ran out of time here, but very interesting discussions and conversations. Thanks again to all the participants today, Arvid, Sarthak, Peter, Pete. I think thanks again for taking our time and loved lot of I think all the unique perspectives and discussions. And I think it was greatly appreciated by the audience as well. Yeah, looking forward to continuing the conversation offline. So hope you all of you have a good day.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thank you, everyone.